Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start by lining up the foot peg, and we're going to start the pin, and we're going to get it so that way it's flush with the inside of the foot peg but no further. Okay, so then the next thing we're going to do is put in the spring, and this is the part that tends to be the most obnoxious. So what I'll do is I will use a T-handle, usually like an 8mm socket on it, and a thicker Phillips screwdriver. Let's see if I can do this without knocking the camera around too much. So I'll go ahead and place it in there. Now, the easiest way to do it is just come down straight on top, and we're going to compress that spring. Not just enough to be able to feed that Phillips screwdriver in there. Maybe a little further. So what we're just trying to do right now is get that Phillips screwdriver inside the spring. So now that we've got that, we don't have to sit there and try to muscle that spring around while we're lining it up. So now we can just use a little mallet and the screwdriver here to line up the pin. And just lightly tap it until we get it in there. And once we get that all the way, and sometimes you'll have to use a screwdriver to help pull the spring around to the right spot. Once you get to that point where you're all the way through the foot peg, you can see you're all the way through the foot peg and poking through the spring. And sometimes you have to then take the foot peg and just kind of push it to where it needs to align. And just light tap. Sometimes lifting up and down on the foot peg helps it make it a little easier. Okay, so now I'm going to take the cotter pin before the flat washer so I can line the pin up. I'm going to move this right here. Okay. So this way I can line the pin up the way I want it. So I'm just going to go ahead and lift this up and just turn this around using the foot peg motion to make it move. It's just a lot easier when it's pointing up. Okay, now we're going to take the washer that came with the original ones. We're going to drop that cotter pin down in. Take a pair of needle nose pliers and we're going to separate the bottom tongs. This one's long enough. I'm going to do it with my fingers a little bit just to get it started here. I generally try to do the inside one first. Doesn't really matter. Okay. Now I always like to bend them up all the way around, but obviously that's a lot of leg left. So I'll take my nippers here and trim it so it's just above the original eyelet. And I like to stick my hands over that because I've taken one or two of these to the face over the years. Oh, just clear the old one out. And I always try to make sure I nip one of those a little bit longer than the other one. So that way if I'm in a bad situation, I have to take this off and put it back on. When I straighten them out, one's still just a little bit longer. And then I just like to, after I'm done, kind of just tighten those up a little bit. And there you go. An easy way to install a foot peg. And then after that, you'll just put your frame guard back on and you're ready to rock and roll.